Welcome in on this Tuesday morning. I'm Janae Hancock, joined by Taylor Johnson. Taylor, how's it going?
It is going great. It is already a terrific Tuesday, I must say.
I love it. You know what? It is a terrific Tuesday. I have my coffee. You had your
Yes.
breakfast. And so it is going to be a good day. And guess what? We are almost to the middle of the week.
Almost
That's
to the middle.
always good news.
Glass half full.
Or what do they call it? Hump day?
Hump day
Hump day.
Wednesday.
Our-
So what kind of coffee do you have? What's your coffee order?
It's difficult. I have a complicated order.
Okay.
I can't even tell you exactly what it is because it's a note in my phone that I go to every single time. I'm
Yeah.
like, give me this. But I have to add a lot, and I need a lot of caffeine to get me going.
So how'd you come up with that? Because I'm always fascinated when people are like,
good question.
2 pumps, 1 thing of sugar. Like, how do you do that?
TikTok.
Oh.
Shout out to TikTok.
I should have known.
But that is exactly how I got my exact order.
I
for my
love
coffee.
that.
So yeah.
I keep it basic, like
Yes.
caramel macchiato.
Uh-huh.
But I want to learn how to make it cooler. So you might have to give me some tips.
Okay, it's a little sweet, but I'll give it to you. It's a long order. It's a little complicated, but I'll give it to you. So hopefully you are joining us this morning on this Tuesday morning with your coffee, your tea, orange juice, whatever it is. Maybe you're working out, but we do want to give you the news updates, and we also have some weather for you as well as sports, and then we will end with traffic. And also, we had a special guest today, Taylor,
Yes,
so
we
we're going to get to that
did.
as well. But first, we do want to start off with a story that we have been following here at KCTV5. It is a national story, but as we touched on yesterday, it is also impacting us here locally. So this morning, the search for survivors of last week's historic flash floods in Texas continues. Officials say more than 100 people have officially died, including nearly 30 from a children's sleepaway camp in Kerr County. Meanwhile, local authorities continue to face mounting questions over what more could have been done to alert the public to the dangers as the waters rose. And CBS News' Naomi Ruckham has more from New York. So let's take a listen in.
Vigils in cities around Texas Monday honor the more than 100 people killed in the tragic July 4th weekend flash floods. The frantic search is intensifying as hundreds of rescue workers, some volunteers, sift through debris in hopes of finding those still missing.
It's complicated by the broad, the mass of people that we're looking for. This is going to take a while.
10 children and 1 counselor from Camp Mystic in hard-hit Kerr County are still unaccounted for. Officials confirm that at least 27 campers and counselors died in the floods. This video shows survivors from the all-girls camp singing hymns after they were rescued. For parents of the children evacuated from Camp Waldemar, located 20 minutes away in Hunt, a long-awaited reunion.
I had to wait a minute for them to hug their mom first. I'm kind of chopped liver, but ultimately when I did get the hugs, they were really sweet.
The historic flooding has led to criticism over early warning systems. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick tells CBS News that state lawmakers could consider funding new sirens in the coming weeks.
Maybe that would have sparked people to say, oh, we have a massive disaster like 5 minutes away.
Meanwhile, donations are now pouring in.
It's about picking each other up.
As communities come together to mourn and rebuild. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
100 people are dead after those catastrophic floods in central Texas, but that number would have been higher if it weren't for heroic rescuers. Now, one is a father who died while helping his daughter cling to a tree so she could survive. The owner of a devastated RV park recalls helping residents through the water and her husband nearly dying in the river. Some survivors from camps praised their counselors for thinking quickly, and one Coast Guard swimmer says he gave up his spot in a helicopter to fit more children from Camp Mystic on board. He says initially he was the only first responder on the ground, and now he's credited with helping save 165 children rescued from that camp. And in that story that we just watched, Janae, we saw some of the campers on the bus singing the hymns. I'm sure many are just so grateful. I think that was the clip right there, that they were able to make it out safely in such a scary situation.
Yeah, and you know what? As we continue, I mean, just look at this. It is heartbreaking. As we continue to hear from the parents and we continue to hear from the children that were inside of this camp, they were sleeping. I heard from one this morning, and she said that she is in therapy right now, and it is just a young girl who had to watch her friends get swept away, and she just talked about her survival and how she was able to survive. But again, just listening to them sing something that is so popular in camp culture is just complete. It just breaks my heart every single time, Taylor.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you have to kind of find the way to center yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's one of the ways that they did that through music, right? Even in what we just read here, just the amount of selflessness that people had, that they were willing to risk themselves in order to save the children and make sure that they were protected, or even people trying to save their own families. There was a story that ran on CBS yesterday about a man who passed away. What he ended up doing was punching his hand through the roof, and he ended up cutting himself and hitting a major artery, and he ended up passing out so that he could get his family up on the roof to safety. And I can't even imagine, you know, they said people had to think fast, you know, what could possibly go through your mind, or even just to have those instincts, those survival instincts.
And again, the survival instincts goes back to the children just being able to, like, knowing what to do, and they knew that they had to stack up on each other, some of them, like one of the survivors I heard from this morning, in order to be safe and to be okay. It's just heartbreaking, and hearing all of those stories, it just shatters my heart completely. I do want to take a look at a visual once again coming in from Central Texas as I kind of go over the latest of the details of what we know so far. And again, taking a look at this video, at least 105 people have died due to that flooding in Central Texas. The majority of those killed were in Kerr County, where 28 children have died, including at Camp Mystic. And search efforts are still ongoing today. We do know that President Donald Trump is set to make his way to this area on Friday, and we'll continue to bring you the latest on that as well. Now, I do want to take a look at this video as well. Local first responders are on their way to help victims. Missouri Task Force 1 in Bone County is actually helping out. The 50-member team is headed south for the next 2 weeks, and people in the metro were ready to jump into action. KCTV5's Grace Smith, she went to Disco Burger in the River Market, where they are helping communities out in Kansas.
The co-owner here says this is what Texans do. They help each other out near or far. Even though he's hundreds of miles away, this tragedy still hits home.
First thing I thought of was, how can we help?
Matt Chapman is the co-owner of Disco Burger and a Texan, moving to KC just 3 years ago.
It's just a magical place.
That magical place hit with an unprecedented tragedy as deadly floods continue to wash through the hill country where Chapman grew up.
I heard about it as it was going on, just from friends and family.
So normally on Mondays, their burgers are 20% off. But tonight, they're going to take that money and donate it directly to the Kerr County Relief Funds.
And in addition to that, we're doing a mock-style Whataburger burger tonight, which 100% of those proceeds will go to the flood relief.
This disaster was unique because the rain and the flooding happened so quickly. Over the years that we have been sending these, we've been able to identify what some of those most needed items are.
Across the state line, J.P. Fisher, the director of disaster response for Heart to Heart, is getting ready to ship out 1,200 of these hygiene kits.
These are essential items, so shampoo, toothbrushes, toothpaste, things that people will forget when they're evacuating.
They have partners on the ground right now in Kerr County who are waiting for the packages to arrive.
We have a relationship with FedEx, so they provide us with the charitable funds, so we're able to send all of our products for free. So we'll be able to send this down, we'll have that local partner receive it. They're working in the community and they'll be distributing it.
Whether it's a hygiene kit or the purchase of a burger, people across the metro are coming together to help in any way they can.
If you're a Texan, you know, everyone gets along, you know. People really show up for each other.
And as these floods continue, Chapman says that he will continue to find ways to donate. As for Varsity Club, they are also doing a special margarita tonight where all the proceeds will be donated. In the River Market, Grace Smith, KCTV5 News.
Now, we did just get an update that Kerr County officials are expected to provide an update on search and rescue efforts. So as soon as we have that live stream, we'll be sure to push it out live to you all. And I also want to provide you with this update as well. The United Cajun Navy incident commander says that Central Texas flooding damage is one of the worst that he has ever seen. And I think that just speaks to just how bad it is in Central Texas right now, Taylor.
Wow. And I know that yesterday we had Stevie on here, and she just talked about how unprecedented it was. It's one of those like 1 in 1,000 sort of disasters that happens in history. And it's really unfortunate to see what is left behind. And again, it's just really hard to wrap our minds around.
Yeah. It is a lot. And you know what? Speaking of Stevie Stevenson, our team of meteorologists, they actually gathered a lot of content yesterday regarding Texas and how this all came about and just how impactful this is. So we do want to turn to them now.
The terrain in the Texas Hill Country plays a crucial role in just how catastrophic and devastating the flooding was that we saw over the weekend. Now, I want to pinpoint one county in particular, that's Kerr County, in which Kerrville is located right along the Guadalupe River. What happens there is with the terrain being so steep and hilly, when we get a lot of rain like what we saw on July 4th and the following days, all of that rain is not able to absorb into the soil and instead runs off and runs down the steep terrain directly into the riverbeds and the creek beds, therefore overwhelming them, causing them to swell and then flood. So all of these different ingredients work together and what fed into part of that catastrophic flooding that we saw outside of purely how much rain was dropped. It's those arid soils, those hills, and the elevation changes and the valleys funneling the rainfall. And when it funnels them, it then causes that water to speed up and create higher flash flooding risk throughout the Texas Hill Country, which is also why that area is nicknamed Flash Flood Alley.
Yeah, let's take a look at a normal day with the Guadalupe River, and you can see way down here at the bottom, it flows at about 2 feet. That is it. That's about how deep it is. It's kind of a lazy river. It's a recreational river. It's a river people like to float down on rafts and kayaks. That changed quickly. In a matter of 30 minutes, when the rain started to hit, we went from nothing to flood stage. And then it spiked, and you can see this thing almost went straight up. So let me break it down to you and use a house as a reference. So 2 feet's normal, but people that were in this way had like 15 minutes before it was at 5 feet. You know what it's you know what it's like trying to walk through that as it's moving so quickly? And then another 15 minutes, it's up to 9 feet. And then another 15 minutes, 14 feet. Another 15 minutes is 26 feet, and eventually it peaks at 6:45, an hour and a half later, at 34 feet. So what does that mean as far as the amount of water that's pushing through? We talked about a 1.5 foot of cubic feet per second. Now compare that to the Missouri River. The Missouri River moves at 55,400 cubic feet per second. That's about 46 times more. When this thing peaked, it was moving 86,000 times its normal amount of water. So not only did it grow up this way 36 feet, it almost quadrupled in size.
That graphic from Mike just like made my stomach drop to my feet.
Yeah, it puts it all into perspective. Right now, you are taking a live look over the Kansas City metro, where we are expected to hear from meteorologist Melissa Meter in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
everyone, meteorologist Melissa Meter here with you after that break. I've got details for what to expect for the rest of the day today. And I will tell you, if you were up early this morning, there was a severe thunderstorm that moved through the metro that brought some damaging winds. There have been reports of downed tree limbs, a few downed trees in places like Clinton, Missouri, and over towards Plattsburgh. And so things are quieter now. So the first warning has lifted. And for the rest of the day today, some 30% chance for some spotty showers will be possible. So as you can see, 30% chance for some spotty rain and storms is in the forecast for the rest of the day today. However, temperatures will be a little bit on the cooler side than we have been because the cloud cover and the rain. So it's 85 not right now, 85 this afternoon will be our high temperature. Once we get into tomorrow, though, we have temperatures a little bit warmer. We're in the upper 80s, a 30% chance for some rain and storms. That looks like to be in the heart of the afternoon and into the evening time frame. If you do remember, if you've been watching for the last couple of days, Wednesday was at one point our driest day of the next 7 or of the 7-day forecast. That has changed. We could see some rain and storms build in for the afternoon and into the evening on Wednesday. We are in the upper 80s for our high temperature. And then it's been a few day hiatus. And by few day, I mean we were in the 90s yesterday, so 2-day hiatus for the 90s to come back. We will be at 90 degrees for your Thursday. So I want to talk about the humidity. Humidity values will remain in the very muggy category over the course of the next several days. Therefore, with temperatures tomorrow being generally in that kind of upper 80 degree range, we could feel like the lower to mid 90s, possibly seeing 90 to even 100 degrees for that feels like temperature for your Thursday. And then we remain in that 90 degree temperature for those feels like conditions on Friday. So we will see an increase in heat, but also the humidity will continue to make those conditions feel even hotter. And that humidity level will likely remain as we go through the next several days. Here's a look out of our Midwest heating, cooling, and plumbing camera. Very different if you were with us earlier this morning. Rain, thunderstorms, seeing lightning on this Midwest heating, cooling, and plumbing camera. Things are much quieter now. We've got partly to mostly cloudy conditions. We see a little bit of sunshine, and I'm looking out here and I'm thinking to myself, wow, it looks very green out there because we did see some rain this morning. Here's a look at radar now. Very different from what we saw earlier this morning. There's one singular shower out there at this point towards Eudora. If we take a closer look at that, I'm going to switch on our kind of closer radar to take an even closer look. And it looks like it's fizzling out even at this point too. As you can see, just towards the southwestern corner of Wyandotte County. They're fizzling out at this point. So things are kind of quiet right now. And I think we will be quiet for, much of the day today. However, there is some spotty rain and thunderstorm chances. Now, our models today have not been handling the system that we had this morning well at all. And honestly, it's 10:18 right now. Radar looks completely different than what I'm showing you right now. So just know that when I walk this out for you, some spotty showers and rumbles will be possible as we go into the heart of the afternoon. I think that's mainly going to be to our south and east. Here we are by the time we get to about 3-4 o'clock, you start to see those rain and storms bubble up down towards our southeastern counties, towards Benton County, along the southern border like Garnett and Lacine. And overall, I think this is mainly to our south and to our east. Now, you saw those storms bubble up, they push out of the area, and then we're mainly dry as we go through the evening. But the southeastern areas, that's where they have the better chance to see some rain and storms today. However, if any strong to severe storm gets going, that is a possibility today. We've got a level 1 out of 5 risk. That's mainly for the afternoon. We had some strong to severe storms move through this morning, but there's also the possibility for that for this afternoon. So mainly down towards our southeastern counties, that's where I'm expecting any rain and storms to develop. If they do, maybe 1 or 2 turn strong to severe. If any do, damaging winds and heavy rainfall would be the primary threats with that. Now, before we kind of get to the next couple of days and temperatures for today, I want to take a look at how much rain we saw, because as I checked earlier this morning, we were about an inch over in St. Joseph. So rain, if you were up early this morning, you probably heard it. It came down very heavy downpours were happening. And here's a closer look at some of those rainfall totals that we have had over the last 24 hours. the bulk of the heavy rain from earlier this morning, that was mainly between, I would say, the I-29 and the I-70 corridor. So happening in our northern areas mainly. We only ended up with, just under 2/10 of an inch here in Kansas City, around 2/10 in Olathe, about 1/2 of an inch in Lawrence. The heavier amount of rain that fell in our northern areas. St. Joseph, over an inch of rain, 9/10 of an inch in Atchison, around 9/10 of an inch in Chillicothe. So we saw a good helping of rain, and they saw that for a couple hours. So as we go through the day today, some heavy downpours could be possible with any kind of rain or thunderstorm that starts to set up across the area. But I just wanted to show this too, to show you how much rain we did see from the last 24 hours and what came through early this morning, because it was coming down in buckets. Like, at least that's what it sounded like inside the studio. Probably sounded that way on your roof. And you probably heard some gusty winds as well. So as I mentioned, there were a few reports of some thunderstorm wind damage. Those were some downed power lines, downed tree limbs, and there were a few reports of downed trees in places like Plattsburgh as well as in Clinton, Missouri. And overall, that moved through pretty quickly, and then we've been mainly dry here for the last couple of hours. So I want to talk about temperatures now today, and we're right now situated still in the lower 70s. It's around 73 degrees, mostly cloudy. As I mentioned earlier, the cloud cover as well as, the rain that we had earlier this morning, it's going to help work against those temperatures getting a lot warmer. I still think we probably make it into the mid 80s, but it might be a struggle if we can't get, the cloud cover to move out of the way. So eventually, I think we are going to be in the upper 70s. This didn't update with the hour. Let's see if I can pull up one more graphic. And then we can plan this out a little better for you. All right, there we go. So here we are. By noon, still a 30% chance for some rain and rumbles. That continues throughout the course of the day. But by noon, I'm expecting those temperatures to possibly get into the 80s. If they do, we are going to need a little bit more sunshine, and therefore we could get to 85, but it may be a stretch if we don't start to break some of that cloud cover here soon, because we're going to start to get into kind of the peak heating of the day, which will be needed for temperatures to get that warm. So we could even be cooler than the mid 80s today. If you remember way back to the beginning of this, I mentioned the chance for some rain and thunderstorm activity just about each day. We've got a 30% chance for your Wednesday. I want to show you that because this is new as of today. So if I pull this up, bear with me. I'm going to have to run through today. But here we go. So once we go into tonight, maybe a few, spotty showers here or there. But once we get into Wednesday, mainly dry for our morning, but by the time we get into the afternoon, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, we start to see rain and thunderstorm activity form. We're not seeing really any signal for severe weather at this point, but just regular rain and thunderstorm chances, pretty scattered in nature. That's going to be for generally the heart of the afternoon and into the evening hours. And it looks like mainly along and south of I-70. That system then pushes out once we get to Wednesday. So that's an update on your Wednesday. I know that's very different because we've been saying it's been going to be the driest day. However, we're seeing some systems move in, and that can, of course, trigger rain and thunderstorm activity. So we're possibly seeing that for your Wednesday. It would be in the afternoon and evening. 30% chances held right now. However, if we continue to see this trend, I think those rain chances will continue to rise as we go through the course of the day today and possibly end up in a first warn for your Wednesday. So something we're watching very closely. Another day that we're watching closely is Thursday. I mentioned Thursday has a small chance for some rain, but new as of this morning, that is a new storm prediction outlook. And let me show you that as well. I want to make sure see if the graphic is updated. Not entirely. I'm just seeing this now. So let me do a quick little update here for you. So this should be for your Thursday. And damaging winds and hail would be the primary threats with this. So here we go. The title's updated for you. So we've got a level 1 out of 5 risk highlighted in the northwestern areas, and then a level 2 out of 5 risk. So this is something we're watching as well. We only have a lower rain chance here in the metro for rain and thunderstorm activity. So Thursday is going to be a day we're watching as well. So a lot going on over the course of the next couple of days as we continue to see rain chances basically held on a low end range for a long time. Expect to see some more rain chances here for a while. So here's a look at our 7-day forecast. Mid 80s today, upper 80s tomorrow, 90 by the time we get to Thursday, 20% chance on Thursday. I mentioned there's a low end chance for rain, but there is that severe risk way up towards the northwest, something we're going to be watching closely if that risk even starts to sink a little bit down towards the southeast, but also with those rain chances. Once we get to Friday, we are in the upper 80s. It's 89 degrees. We've got a 30% chance for rain and thunderstorms. However, I will say we are watching Friday and Saturday very closely, and that is going to be due to a cold front that's going to be moving through the area. So we are going to go from the upper 80s and into the low 80s once we get to Saturday. So Saturday will be cooler, but that does pose the chance for maybe some rain and thunderstorm activity, of course, and we're monitoring that potential for that severe weather because usually when we get to this time of year, we've got a lot of moisture out there. We've got, rain and thunderstorm chances. We've got a lifting mechanism, and in this case, it would be a cold front. And then we will see those temperatures drop into the low 80s. Still seeing the chance for rain on Sunday, building back up into the upper 80s, and then around 89 and even near 90 degrees once again once we get to Monday. So I mentioned that things are going to continue to be muggy. Will there be a drastic change once we have that cold front move through? Not entirely. So the next couple of days still in that muggy category. We peak on Friday and that's going to be ahead of that cold front, and then we eventually start to see a little dip in that humidity value into near a bit humid to muggy range, but still nonetheless going to be feeling very hot for your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and humid. And then we maybe get a little bit of relief, especially when those temperatures get a little bit cooler on Saturday. So one more time, I will show you that 7-day forecast because there's a lot going on it. So Cliff Notes version, small chance for rain just about each day through the rest of the week. 30% Wednesday, 20 Thursday, 30 through your weekend. Partly to mostly cloudy conditions are expected. Temperatures are generally going to be in the upper 80s through Friday. Some areas do hit 90, like us on Thursday. And then we are back down into the low 80s when we get to Saturday. That will be the coolest day of the next 7. Humidity values take a little bit of a dip, but still going to be feeling pretty humid out there. And then we rise back up into the upper 80s, and Monday at this point looks to be on the dry side. So kind of an active weather pattern here over the next couple of days. And of course, there's that small chance for some spotty rain and thunderstorm activity for the day today. But overall, I think things are kind of quieter as we go through the rest of the day today versus then early this morning when we had that severe thunderstorm warning for the metro, as well as the heavy downpours that we were having across the area. So that's my update that I've got for you today. And I hope everybody enjoys their day. And I'll leave you guys on this view of the city cam so you could see downtown, a little bit of sunshine out there as well.